Welcome. If you are a high achieving woman who values productivity, you are in the right place. In this training, we're going to be going over everything you need to be a high performing woman, a woman in business, a woman who's in a leadership position. So, if you're craving coaching, community, and a roadmap to total freedom and life in business, this training is for you. And if you're looking for results like leveling up, being able to wake up early, consistently full of energy, nailing your bedtime, taking your screen time down, and just getting more done in a day than most people get done in a week or two without burning out, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do with the Total Freedom Accelerator program. So, what to expect in the next 20 minutes or so is what you're going to expect. What is total freedom, anyways? And what is the roadmap to get there? I'm going to show you the secret no brainer tools leveraged by celebrities and top performers every day to be more productive. I'm going to show you a really cool, this is a secret, so you have to catch it to the end. I'm going to show you a really cool analogy with focus, race cars, and priorities. So you're going to learn what those three things have to do with each other. And then I will give you an invitation to take the next step towards freedom. But who am I? Hi, nice to meet you. If we don't already know each other, I'm Coach Tiffany Taylor. I'm the founder of Total Freedom Coaching, and I'm an author, speaker, podcast host, and master coach. And I'm based in the USA right now. As a master practitioner of NLP, I blend neuropsychology and theology to help thousands of high performers regulate the nervous system, declutter the mind, and reach even more business success online. Now, I'm extremely passionate about helping you restore and heal your mind and productivity, and I'm going to show you why that is. Now, I believe that freedom is your birthright, but it's not accidental. It's intentional and habitual. So, total freedom, and that's a term I'm going to be using the whole presentation, by the way. Total freedom is having that baseline of soul level alignment, that soul level liberation, and that soul level fulfillment. Right now, the world and the culture will tell you that to have freedom in one area of life, you have to sacrifice another. And I just don't believe that to be true. I know you can have it all from experience and from watching my clients as well. So if you're looking for freedom emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, mentally, I'm going to show you the exact blueprint on how to get that because I've had to go, pendulum swing one to the other. And I'll show you more about my journey in a few. But you really want to learn this stuff from someone who's walking the talk. Okay. So I've studied entrepreneurs. I've studied women, I've studied high performers, and I've done hundreds of personal interviews. And what I found that blocks most people from reaching their potential are things like distraction, procrastination, perfectionism, having inconsistent energy levels, and just not being able to organize your own thoughts when there's too much pressure and too much coming at you. And I'm fascinated by this because I realized I wasn't alone when I started doing this research. So, what happens if you are not intentionally growing and you're not intentionally structured about your personal growth, you end up on this sort of downward spiral. And it may look familiar to you, and hopefully it's not. I don't wish this on anyone. But when you have a dysregulated nervous system, it puts you out of alignment and it creates dysfunction in different areas of your life. And then that lack of alignment turns into a busy, cluttered mind that then turns into business or career decline, which puts financial pressure on you, which puts pressure on your relationships and eventually leads to burnout. And I don't want this on anyone. So if you're here right now, I want you to know you're not alone. I'm here to help you get out of this downward spiral and instead have an intentional structure to your growth. And that is by regulating your nervous system first and foremost, helping you reach a peak mental state so you have that clarity, the precision, the focus. We're going to adopt some high performance habits and skills, optimize the way we approach business. That way we can access the total freedom simultaneously. Okay. Now, let me tell you why I don't take the nervous system and mental wealth lightly. It's a very big part of my story. And some of this I've never shared before. So you might be one of the first people to ever hear the depth of this story. Now, growing up, I was in therapy majority of my life. And I received a bunch of diagnoses. Okay. I received OCD, trichotillomania, generalized anxiety disorder, ADD, ADHD, complex post traumatic stress disorder, binge eating disorder, panic attack disorder. It seemed like every time I went to go for help, it would just be something else stacked on top of a label. And I felt like I was collecting labels and prescriptions, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. And for me, I value being holistic. I was prescribed lifelong therapy along with everything else on this slide. And I can tell you, for me, it didn't feel good. It changed my personality. It affected my motivation levels and my drive. And I didn't like being dependent on a medication. I also didn't like the after effects or the withdrawal symptoms that came from coming off of these medications. So that is what kickstarted my journey into learning, how does the mind work? This can't be the only way. There's no way I have a lifelong sentence to therapy and psychiatric drugs. So that's what sent me out on my journey of learning about the mind. Now, I was the poster child for saying I don't need help. I graduated therapy. I did 12 years in therapy. I was the poster child for this. But the truth is, I was silently had a battle in my mind, many battles. I was battling my inner critic and negative self talk. I was meaner to myself and harder on myself than anyone else could have been. I was facing constant distraction from the ADD. I was a perfectionist, meaning sometimes I had to do things over 5, 10, 15 times before I felt like it was good enough, which cost a ton of time. I was a constant procrastinator. I had a scarcity mindset. I was terrified to invest in myself or anywhere else. I was really struggling to cope with focus and time management. On the back end of that, I had a lot of unresolved, bottled up trauma that I knew about, but I just avoided. To be honest, I just assumed that since therapy didn't work, nothing else would. So I just pushed it to the back, swept it under the rug, and pretended it wasn't there. And that was showing up as really unhealthy relationship patterns with family, with friends, in romantic relationships. I was having traumatic flashbacks and resurfacing emotions, especially when I was at, I would say, the peak of my life, when everything seemed to be going well. All of a sudden, these unhappy emotions, I'll put it that way, unhappy emotions started showing up. I'm like, this doesn't make sense because I should be happy. I should feel successful for everything that I built. Why do I feel so bad inside? And I had these unpredictable triggers that I was navigating as well. And I also tended to pendulum swing. Either I was completely numb or I was overly emotional and I couldn't handle it. It was like the floodgates would open. And that was extremely frustrating that I didn't have this balance out. I had the concept and the idea and the training for emotional intelligence, but practically speaking, I felt like I just couldn't get a grip. And it was extremely frustrating as a high performer to feel out of control of those things. Um, I was extremely shy, introverted. I had an extreme fear of being judged or rejected. Not good things to have when you have your own business or you want to have your own business, right? I was, I shrunk my personality. I dimmed my light, so to say. I did not want to use my voice or speak up for myself. I had a fear of public speaking, showing up online. I struggled to trust myself. All of these things swirling around. And if you take one or two of these things, it might seem minor, but when you put them in a list, how much that was holding me back from the freedom lifestyle that I wanted to have. I knew there had to be a way out of this. I knew I wasn't stuck this way. And so that's when I discovered an alternative holistic way to heal my mind's underground railroad to freedom. Right? That was a discovery I made, and I'll share more about what that underground railroad looks like to freedom when it comes to the mind. But I was able to heal these things on my own through some of the tools and techniques I'm going to show you. I was able to heal binge eating disorder, panic attack disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD. And I also lost 90 pounds. Okay. What's funny is I've always said I started at 185 pounds. I was going back through my log in my fitness pal to see all the weight logs I had. And I was actually at my highest 198 pounds. Okay. I dropped 90 pounds to a steady 118 now that I've kept consistent for quite a few years. I've obsessively learned about biohacking to combat ADHD symptoms and anxiety for peak performance that doesn't burn me out. Um, I actually built my business on this, teaching ADHD symptoms and treating them holistically and time management when you have that kind of diagnosis. I healed, completely healed the damaging trauma responses, relationships, and anger patterns that I had. I was able to travel through 36 countries and 6 continents solo and built an online business that allows me to travel even more. And I've helped thousands of high performers at this point leverage holistically healing and transforming the mind, the body, and your business as a result of that. So I know everyone knows this phrase, fill in the blank. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right? And we think about that, but when we go to approach our business and we look at our business performance, we don't typically look at what is my weakest link, but we feel it because if we're focused on business and something goes sideways in our relationships, how well are we able to focus? Not well, right? So we need to be looking at, wait, where are my weak spots so I can be working on those too? It's a big part of leadership. And so we have all these different buckets in our life. So we have our, the emotional bucket, the mental bucket, the spiritual bucket, all these different buckets that we need to be working on, which when you're trying to attempt personal development on your own, that can be pretty overwhelming because you have to look at all of these things. It feels like not only are you wearing all the hats in your business and in your leadership positions, but now you're having to carry all these buckets and make sure they're not running out of water. And so I have a blueprint here I'm going to show in a second of how to navigate all of this so that you're consistently progressing in every area of life sustainably without having to think about it. So it's just happening on autopilot because of the systems you've built. Now, the nervous system directs every area of your life. It does that through maps and through stories. And so if you think about every area of your life, this is what living a whole life looks like. A full life is the total freedom life. It's a 10 out of 10 in every single area. And I think that's what everyone aspires to. How do I have a 10 out of 10 life that I feel good about? And so a way we can easily measure that is we can rate ourselves. How am I performing in each area of life? And the way I can show people to do this, you can do this on a napkin even. Go ahead and rate yourself in every area of life and see how you're doing. And if you look at the shape that those dots make, that is the representation of how full your life is and how much opportunity for growth that you have. So if your big circle looks like something very small or awkward, I want you to be encouraged that that's how much opportunity for growth that you have to see how much potential you have in front of you. Okay. So that is an encouragement. You are on the right track. We're going to get you on track. We're going to get you to the 10 out of 10 in every area. So I'm going to show you how high performing women are decluttering their minds and healing their nervous systems in community. So the way we do that is not by adding more to your plate. And this is the opposite of hustle culture. What I see most women do that are high performers or they're really accomplished, it's let me just add more things to my plate, more books, more podcasts, an extra workout, whatever that might be, more seminars, more retreats. And the reality is, if you need to regulate your nervous system, you need less. If you need to declutter your mind, you need less, not more. Okay. So it's an elimination mindset rather than an accumulation mindset. We don't need to be busy minded. There are plenty of studies showing that busy does not mean productive. And I know intuitively you know this, right? So, what does elimination mindset mean? It means we need to get rid of these symptoms that are blocking you from your potential. Being busy and distracted, or numb, withdrawn, or having perfectionism or imposter syndrome, these are absolute blocks to you becoming the woman that you need to become the leader that you need to be, to create more freedom in your life, which means we need to go about eliminating these things so that you have breathing space. Who doesn't want breathing space in their mind, in their schedule, in their business, right? That's what we're going after, is that spaciousness. So first we have to clear some things out. We're going to have to clear out overwhelm and overthinking, right? The patterns of rumination, patterns of downplaying your own success or playing small. Everything you see on this screen, repressed emotions, repressed memories, distractibility, doubt, fear of being seen, fear of being rejected, fear of failure, fear of success, all of these mindset things. That's just clutter. You are not stuck that way. That is not natural. Okay. And you don't have to keep those things. You can actually remove them entirely. So, if you can imagine what your life and business would look like if none of those things existed, that's where you're headed with the roadmap I'm about to give you. Okay. So, what does the Freedom Accelerator roadmap looks like? Well, it's starting with forward thinking. When we are stuck in it, right? We're in the grind, we're in the hustle, we're in the whirlwind effect, is what I call it. You're so focused on working in your life and in your business that you're not working on it. And you need to just like take a beat and say, wait a minute, what is the bigger vision that I'm working towards here? All leaders are vision oriented, and you need space to do that. And it really helps to have structure so that you're asking yourself the right questions and you have the right organization for having a vision that is aligned with your values, that is aligned with the purpose and the calling that you have in your life, and that is aligned with your nervous system so you don't lose your mind in the process. Okay. You need to have that clear clarity on that. And also, having an anti fragile identity is something I talk about a lot. Having the forward thinking, having the vision, being the leader, but your identity not being wrapped up in it. That way you don't end up with a midlife crisis or a quarter life crisis, which is what, now people have a crisis every other month, it seems like. So having a firm identity is really important too. Only from the place of having a reference point, such as vision, can you go into goal setting. Okay. And goal setting is not, writing down 10 bullets on your notes app on your phone and you have goals. Goal setting should be a process that is aligned with your subconscious mind. It should be a process that when you set big goals, it feels good in your body. If you're writing big goals and you're feeling fear and you're scared and you're thinking, oh, it's not really possible, you're not going to hit them. And there's ways to engineer your goals so that they're aligned with the nervous system and so that your motivation is attached in a way where you can't wait to get after it, no matter how big that goal is. Okay. So there's a process for that. Now we can go into time management. What I see a lot of mistakes women make, especially high performing women, we need to optimize our time. We need to optimize our energy, but we haven't taken the step back to look at what are the reference points I'm looking at? What are the values? What's the vision? What are the goals? And that's what makes it hard to decide what to eliminate. So once we go through this process, then we can go through time management. This looks like divorcing your to-do list. This looks like having a spacious calendar system that's working with you. It's intuitive. This is not a matter of, being a drill sergeant with a rigid schedule. That's not what we do here, but we do create a system for our habits where it's intuitive and it feels good and it's aligned with all of the goals we have for every area of life, not just the work or career goals that we have. And once we're looking at time management, all the hacks to get organized digitally on our phones and our computers and our emails, now we can look at some biohacking tactics. Now we can look at energy management. We're already managing our time well. So, how do we maximize the amount of energy we have every day? How do we get the most out of the energy that we have? And we do that with sleep. How do we optimize our sleep? We do that with regulating the nervous system, with supplements, with having the right diet, with learning how to read our body's biometrics and how to make informed decisions every day based on those things. So if you've never heard of the word biohacking before, don't worry, you're not going to get left behind. We're going to show you from the very basics how to become a high performer, not just in the way you think, but physiologically as well, how your body operates. Now, from this place, we have this spaciousness. We're going to go into spirituality and confidence. We are taught that confidence is a skill, and that is absolutely not true. Confidence and focus, as a matter of fact, are your natural state of being. It's a natural state. You were born with that, and anything else environmentally will only take it away from you. So, we're going to go back and reclaim those things. We're going to rebuild your faith and your hope. We're going to eliminate things like perfectionism and procrastination, imposter syndrome, all of those nagging voices in your mind, all of the mindset work, all of those insecurities. We're going to completely clear those out of your mind so we can restore you back to that state. And now we can look at relationships. How do we redeem and restore broken relationships? Maybe that's with God. Maybe that's the relationship you have with yourself. Maybe that's the relationship you have with your spouse or your partner or romantically or in your friendships. Those relationship patterns tend to show up in every dynamic. So we spent a whole month just going through how do we restore this and how do we improve our boundary setting and our communication in order to have really healthy, elite performing relationships, no matter what the past held. Okay. So let's look at what my journey to healing the nervous system looked like. First, this word healing is really tricky. So I want to make sure we're on the same page as far as that. When I use the word healing or regulating, this is what I mean by that. It is experiencing the opposite of the symptoms that you wanted to treat. It is regulating the nervous system and your sleep, your rhythm, and your routine. It is feeling centered and grounded. It is having the opposite response of what used to trigger you. If something, someone used to say something to you and you got frustrated, upset, or angry, maybe it's experiencing the opposite of that when that old trigger shows up. It is feeling healthy mentally, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. It is the negative emotions passing out no longer have a hold on you. So it's not showing up for you. You're not saying, I am this way because this happened to me or because this happened in my childhood, right? You're completely releasing that. And it means having the confidence, presence, relationships, and alignment that's fully restored to the way God intended it to be. Now, here's some things I wish I knew before spending 12 years in therapy with no results to show for it. Okay, I'm gonna make some bold claims. This is my story. It might not be your story. That's totally fine. Now, it's not the amount that it would end up costing in the end, because of course I didn't know it would be 12 years only to get a lifelong prescription. Okay, so it's not that. And it's not that at the end of 12 years, I would still feel completely lost, not having the skills or the tools that I needed to become a high performer. It's that I could relieve the past and heal without having to relive it. As a therapy graduate, I can tell you what was the most painful thing for me about healing was having to talk about the same thing every week, talking about my worst experiences, my worst trauma, reliving the experience, and then still not getting anywhere with it. And so I thought this would take years to heal. And I learned that time is not what heals, actually, it's tools and techniques do. So, this is one thing I really wish I knew is that I can release that stuff without having to relive it personally. If I knew that, I would have signed up so much sooner, let me tell you. Now, when traditional therapy left me feeling unproductive and alone, I spent thousands upon thousands of hours studying neuroscience, neuropsychology, linguistics, biohacking, and theology. And if you don't know what all or half of these things are, that's fine. You don't need to. I'm just going to break it down for you. Now, I discovered this secret that high performers, top athletes, celebrities have been using to achieve greatness. And it's almost so plain in sight that I nearly missed it. But when I found out, I was not surprised by the names of the list of people who have used these exact tools and techniques in NLP. So, first, I asked ChatGPT for a list for you. Who are some of the people who've used this technique? And I saw names like Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Clinton, J.K. Rowling, from the Harry Potter series. I'm seeing athletes like Serena Williams, Andrea Agassi, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. I know these names. I know these people. Furthermore, I'm an entrepreneur. So I looked up specifically who are the marketers who are using these secrets of how the mind works to become more productive and successful, especially in marketing. Grant Cardone, Russell Brunson, Dean Graziosi, Dan Locke, Marie Forleo, Brendan Burchard, Gary Vee. All of these people that high performing women usually look up to, they're all know something. They have tools and techniques to help them get to greatness. They didn't just accidentally become that way. They didn't do it on their own either. They did it with coaching. And when I started to discover this, I was like, how did I know about this sooner? It's out there. I found interviews of Serena Williams talking about this, Conor McGregor when he was at his prime, even Oprah Winfrey, showing that coaching helps stop the crazy mind chatter in your head. And I found that so interesting because maybe it's just because she's Oprah, but I just assume she's not dealing with those things, right? We tend to put successful people on a pedestal. We don't realize they're human beings just like us. And they had to overcome the same obstacles in order to reach that peak performer mentality. And now we know, okay, we have the tools to see exactly what they did to get there. And I think in my research, one of the things that shocked me the most was, guys, Warren Buffett, the man. Warren Buffett was terrified of public speaking. I just can't imagine that today because he's a public speaker. And he actually invested in tools and techniques to overcome the fear of public speaking and become more charismatic as a speaker because he was an introvert, right? So, what do these people have in common? They didn't allow their personality traits, their setbacks, um, and their insecurities to hold them back from greatness. They found coaching, They found these very specific techniques to help them transform, and they adapted their personalities to the person they needed to become to reach success, right? They were transforming their minds. So, their secret no brainer way to get rapid, predictable results was through neurolinguistic programming. If it sounds super nerdy, I'm going to give you the high level. We don't have to go into all the details yet. That's what I do with my clients. So, what is neurolinguistic programming? Well, it's combining the nervous system, right? The brain is the control center of the nervous system. So it's learning about the nervous system and how it interacts with our language patterns, right? The linguistics, in order to create our programming, right? Our mental conditioning, which is the unconscious patterns, programs, habits, and strategies that run us internally, right? Our habits, our routines, everything of that sort. So I'm going to give you the high level of this. And one of the questions I'm asked more often is this credible? I Googled it. It's a pseudoscience. Okay, well, let's take a look. First of all, success leaves clues. So if the top of the top are all using this, there's definitely something to it. Okay. And the truth is, it's just pattern recognition. NLP is pattern recognition. We looked at the most successful people in every field, actually therapists and psychologists, psychiatrists are the ones who've done the research. They've looked at all the patterns of the most successful people and realized they think differently. How did they get there and how can we model that success? It's looking at how we collect information from all five of our senses and how we delete, distort, and generalize that information based on a variety of pieces of our identity, which might mean our self image, our language, our beliefs, values, time, place, memories, decisions, all of these things, our attitude. All of those filters, now that information is filtered into an internal experience, which we would call a memory. And our memories determine our state along with our physiology, which could be like our posture. And that state determines our behavior. Our behavior and our actions are what determines the reality that we have available to us, right? So if we want to change the business and life results we're getting, right? Very practically, we need to be able to change how we filter information so we can rewrite those patterns, rewrite those scripts in our minds. Now let's look at a brief history. I am not a history buff. Personally, history is my least favorite class, always in school. But I think it's important to have a background on the credibility here of these techniques. So we started studying the mind back in 300 BC. Aristotle is first credited for mentioning the stream of time in his book. And this is referencing how our mind organizes time and our memories. Now, in 1890, American philosopher William James spoke of a linear memory, speaking to all of our memories are stored subconsciously, kind of like the software of our brain is stored on a line for our memories. This is really powerful for later on. 1910, we have Gestalt therapy. In the 50s, we learned the theory that our memories are stored holographically across the mind and the body. This will become relevant later on as well. And we're looking at how different memories can be accessed based on different emotional or sensory triggers. Okay, so now we're learning how we access memories and access those stories. 1958, the American Medical Association recognized hypnosis as a suitable substitute for anesthesia in surgery. So you can imagine some of these tools have been used in the medical field for people who are allergic to anesthesia. That way they're still able to undergo surgeries without pain. 1963, famous personal development book, Power of Your Subconscious Mind, is released. And then things start picking up pretty quickly. 1970s, NLP begins. The theory of NLP begins and the research begins. 1980s, timeline reimprinting is developed, which is a tool for shaping and reshaping and rescripting the way our minds work to change our behavioral patterns and our habits. 1990s, there's a refinement period happening of how these techniques are being used. Now, all of a sudden, these techniques are being used in copywriting and advertising and direct response marketing. This is when Tony Robbins got his rise. He caught hold of this technique and he ran with it, and he released the book, Unleash the Power Within, making these tools widely accessible to the masses. Now, this is now even more rapidly developing. In 2000s, neuroplasticity and emotional memory research is backing up exactly the theory of NLP and all of the techniques that are being used. And the techniques are being proven applicable based on brain studies. Okay. Trying not to get too nerdy on you here. So Now we have neuromarketing in the 2000s. These are things like your pattern interrupts, your emotional triggers, um, any of that sensory based language. And in the 2020s, we have timeline engineering, which is a derivative of timeline therapy and time techniques. And this is what I use all the time with clients to get the results that I do. Okay, that's the big secret. Now, if you don't know how the mind works, we're going to make it super easy for you. The mind is the control center for the nervous system, and you have two parts: you have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. But 95% of what you do every day, 90 to 95%, is coming from your subconscious mind. And if that's the case, which has more leverage to work with for personal growth? Is it the 5% or the 95%? This is kind of a no brainer, right? If you want to have real change, if you really want to level up to the person you want to become in every way, then you really need to learn, how do I access the 95% that's driving all of my decisions? And I'm going to give you a perfect example of how to do this. Okay. Let me show you where everyone goes wrong. And also, before I get there, this is also why therapy is not the best tool when it comes from going good to great. Therapy is great if you have a mental health illness or disorder. That's what it's specialized in. But counseling on its own is they don't have the tools to get into your subconscious mind. So if you're wondering, if you're like, I've done this before, and that care therapy and counseling for time management and productivity hasn't really worked for me, it's because they've been working with the conscious mind, and they're working with the 5% of what you're doing every day, not with the 95%, the bigger part of your mind that drives real results. Okay, so that's why everything I do focuses in that direction. So let's drive this point home. I want you to meet me at the racetrack. We're gonna race cars. If you don't know this about me, I really love driving, whether it's a motorcycle or a supercar on a track day. I love driving. So I'm gonna take you along with me. Now, the winner of this race is gonna get $1 million. And there's no tricks here, okay? This is not something, I'm not tricking you on this. So first, you get to choose your car. Completely up to you. You're gonna get an unlimited budget to do whatever additions you want to your car. Personally, I like the sports car on the right. You can choose whatever one you like, though. And once you choose your car, you get to optimize your car with an unlimited budget. I want you to pick the best pit team and engineers you can find for that car and really soup it up until you're super confident that you're going to win this race. Usually, when I do this workshop live and I share this analogy, people are extremely confident that they're going to win the race. And then I share this next screen where this is true of just life. We talked about optimizing the car, but we didn't talk about what the racetrack looks like. Now, your track might have traffic cones, a car accident. Fun fact, I used to live in Thailand and also Atlanta. In Thailand, you'd have elephants on the road, so sometimes you can't cross the road. And in Atlanta, for some reason, you have mattresses on the road, and so sometimes the highway's blocked that way. The point is, everyone's on a different track. So sometimes we're so focused on optimizing the self that we forget to clear the path in front of us. Even if your car is better than your opponent's, if your opponent has cleared out the path of the obstacles in front of them and you haven't, they're going to win the race. This is why comparisonitis doesn't really help anyone, because we're not comparing the obstacles we have to surpass, because those things are hidden. And that's why I talk about elimination, right? That elephant or that car accident might be the downplaying of success, the lack of skills, like all these other things that come up. That's why it's important to clear your track, which is what I do with my clients. Okay. Obviously, who wins the race? It's the person who has the clear track, who's gone through the elimination work. So some of you already have that elite vehicle and there's just something holding you back. I'm going to show you the community that's going to help you break through that and clear the road. Because if that's you, and I'm speaking to you right now, what you don't need is another book, conference, podcast, or productivity app. I know you because I was there. Okay. What you don't need are time consuming, lengthy videos to watch all the time, a whole course to go through. You're already overwhelmed. You don't need that either. And what you also don't need is endless generic journals, workbooks, and assignments to complete. Girl, you're busy. You've got a mission, okay? What you do need is laser focused coaching that's customized specifically to your needs to create structure and focus. You need an outside perspective on what needs to be eliminated so you can have that spaciousness. And so you do know what to tweak so you can regulate your nervous system. You do probably need a weekly high value implementation session, an hour that's just for you, that's dedicated to implementing the tools that are going to help you get the results that you want to have. And what you do probably want is an easy to integrate, plug and play high performance habit system so that everything is working in the background simultaneously for you so you can enjoy the process of building the freedom you're after. And that's where I bring in the Total Freedom Accelerator. Okay. So I'm going to take you through this exact roadmap. Each one of these topics we spend a whole month on together live. And of course, if we're in our biohacking season and you're like, whoa, 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 I need to figure out what my vision is, of course, you have recordings to go back to. So you can go in that order too, and support's available for you. But, I've gotten incredible results for the women in this program. It's been such an honor to see the transformations of women that I think so highly of and have such a high level of respect for. Accomplished women who are finding ways to be even more productive. Tiffany, she's a founder, same name, I love it. She said that this has been a life-changing program for her. She really used to struggle with focus and consistency with ADD, and now she's operating at a whole new level in her business and for her team. Her mindset shifted, her productivity soared, and she said she feels more spiritually grounded than ever. She said, this is the program you need to take control of your life. And then we have Carla. She's a real estate investor and a realtor. And she said that my approach to calendar management, mindset, and organization transformed the way that she's working and living. She was able to pin the root cause of some of the pent up emotions and mental clutter, and she was actually able to release that totally. Now she's more productive, radiant, and confident than ever, and says this program has been a game changer for her. And then we have Angela. She's an exited founder and investor. She's also an author, a speaker, and a podcast host. We didn't have space to put all of that here. But she said she's done other programs before, and nothing is compared to the transformation she experienced working with me as her coach. She said that my unique blend of productivity, mindset, and faith based coaching helped her achieve her goals that she thought didn't even know were possible. She said her life is more organized and focused as a result, and she's finally walking in her purpose. And, there's a lot more testimonials like this. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're all on the page for you to see. But what I really want is for you to be next. I want you to be the next 5-star testimonial, but not because I asked you for it, but because you just had such an incredible transformation. You can't help but talk about it and share with your friends. Guys, when you find something that works and that works well, you can't help but tell everyone you know about it. And that is why I'm so vocal about this program, because we're getting so many serious results for the women inside. So again, we're gonna have six different focuses and topics. And let me show you what it's like inside, because if you've already seen from the testimonials, we have some go-getters in the room, highly successful, accomplished women who are just on the journey to becoming better. They have like-minded focus and they're encouraging, they're cheerleaders. I'll tell you that. Everyone in my program, they are cheerleaders of others. We are all about empowering each other and supporting each other. And this is what the program looks like. You're going to spend the next 6 to 12 months with me. And what's fun is I say it's a 6-month program. Everyone stays because there's always wanting to renew, but it's a 6-month minimum process that you're going to go through with us, where you get weekly coaching sessions with me. You get immersive on-demand workshops on confidence, time management, vision, goal setting, and speaking more effectively, right? Communication training is important. You're going to get access to all of our past replays and coaching sessions and resources. You're going to get direct messaging access to me inside a private community WhatsApp chat. Do you know how good it is to have a coach in your pocket? You ever have those days where you're going to have like a meltdown, or you're just crying at your computer, or you're like, something's off, but I don't know what it is. I need a soundboard right now. That's what the WhatsApp chat is for. I cannot stress enough how important it is to lean on that kind of tool. Okay. So you get me in your pocket all the time. You also get high level networking with like minded women. And as a bonus for signing up today, you're going to get a one private session with me, one private coaching session on Zoom. Okay. Now, this is a tactical, proven program for ambitious women who are ready to tap into high performance at a whole new level. Okay. And I want to stress this again: high performance does not mean high stress. It does not mean high strung. It does not mean stuck in your masculine. High performance means output is happening at an increasing level while your nervous system is so cozy and soft, and you are so grounded, and you're able to stay in that feminine, soft energy while getting the output done. You're able to stay healthy and have healthy relationships while getting things done, while advancing your career and the purpose that you have on your life. So, if you want to join a group of community of women doing the same, this is your invitation to do so. You can join now below. And if you're like, wait, this is an investment. Maybe I haven't made this investment before, or this investment seems big for me right now. I'm kind of still on the fence, but I have some more questions. Totally cool. I get it. Every dollar invested in you is an important one. I agree with that. So if you want to jump on a complimentary call just with me or someone on the team to see is this going to be a good fit for you, then I would encourage you to do that. There is Q&A below if you have any frequently asked questions, but I would love to meet you. If even if you're just considering it a little bit, I would love to have a conversation with you. I know you're going to get clarity out of that. And if you're craving community, I don't believe in coincidences. I do think you made it here for a reason. If your spirit is jumping out, like, I need this, then do it, girl. I want to see you in this program. I want to see the notification on my phone that you just entered the WhatsApp chat, or you get all this community of women cheerleading you, welcoming you, getting to know you, and just going on this journey with you. So I would love to meet you. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you soon.